It is I, Joey Only, Caribou Weather Dude. That's right. I'm a little bit sick this morning, and I've not been making much for forecast videos. I got the kettle going. I'm making some coffee, getting all ready here. I've not been making much forecast videos lately. There's not been much to talk about, but we are looking at fire season right now. That's something this channel is really always concerned about is fire weather forecasts and the new snow survey and water bulletin that the BC government has put out yesterday has me feeling less confident than I have been. Okay, I've been saying that, well, La Nina is coming. We could be seeing some real rain this year. Hey, look, some of these models are showing above average precipitation into June. We have some reason to have hope, right? But then I read this report and I think, man, it's not good. It's not good news.
This is bad news.
My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen.
Wow. I'll watch the video later.
Feel the heat.
I need more blanks, I need water.
Ain't dry mopping this. So here we are. Snow Survey Water Supply Bulletin, April 1st, Province of British Columbia. Well, just before I get to that, I am a little sick today. Did go to the Dayglow Abortion Show this weekend. And supporter Lana, thank you very much for the gift you sent me. You sent me home with a care package. And this is also came in the mail, and I'm going to open it tonight on the meteorological report on the podcast. This is from Kim Gucci, my friend, and she tells me that her and my friend Dan Barton, drummer Dan Barton, have got together to do something for my sobriety. And I'm going to open it later today, live. Thanks a lot, because no one's done anything like that for me. Okay, I mean, people have been very good to me and giving and supporting, but no one said, hey, good job being sober. Here you go. And I'm not a part of any AA groups or anything like that, right? So, I'm not going to get any pins or any medallions or nothing like that. So as of April 1st, the provincial snowpack is extremely low, 63% across BC. Last year, the provincial average was 88%. So here, let's have us look at some of these numbers now. You can see really bad. You look at this Chilcotin area. It's in the red. It's for 0%, man. This is really bad. There is no snow out west of Quesnel right now, right? So I'm really concerned for what's going to happen there when we get some warmer weather. When it should be coming. We will see temperatures start to rise next week. We don't have snow there, right? I'm really concerned for the caribou this year, and I did say that to Sally, one of the bosses in Quesnel. Fire Center, one of the BC wildfire bosses. I said, I'm concerned for the caribou this year. And I said that to other people too. I feel like the caribou's turn is up. I said that to my own boss. Like, one of the reasons we should be putting people in the caribou is because I feel like the caribou's turn is coming again this year. Whatever that means, right? Again, I'm not here to give you dire predictions. I'm only here to give you what I know. And so far, I don't feel like this year will be as bad as last year, but the setup doesn't look good, man, to start. Dry conditions through much of March. Record low precipitation that month. Below normal spring freshet flood hazard. Low snowpack, seasonal runoff forecast. So we got no chance whatsoever of flooding this spring. Look at some of these. Percentage of normal: Upper Fraser, West 70, East 56, Nechako 62, 57, Middle Fraser, Thompson's in the 60s, Chilcotin 0. Bad. Quesnel 52, Lower Fraser 63. You look at all these ones, they're all in the 60s and 70s. Thompson, Fraser, West Columbia, Boundary, Okanagan, Smilkameen, right? And then we have, except for the Northwest, that's 105% of normal, and that would be up here. BC is heading towards drought fast. Now let's talk about the weather. Here's weather summary. It says, after an unusual unsettled start to March, weather patterns for the second half of the month were relatively dry throughout BC. Temperatures were ranging normal, 0.5 to, hovering around 0, off and on. Monthly precipitation totals were normal for Vancouver Island. The rest of the province measured drier than normal conditions. The north and interior being very dry. Second and fourth lowest total March precipitation ever. Quesnel, Williams Lake, Prince George, Dease Lake, Chetwynd, Fort St. John, Fort Nelson. Seasonal precipitation over the last 180 days. have been close to normal across most of southern BC, but the central and northern experiencing below normal precipitation. Now, a stormy start to March boosted snow accumulation in southern regions of the province, but relatively dry conditions persisted through the remainder of the month. Provincial snowpack decreased by 3 percentage points since March 1st, 63% of normal for April 1st. The two measurements of 0 millimeters southwest in Chilcotin are not uncommon for April 1st due to low elevation and early snowmelt. Keep that in perspective. Overall, provincial snowpack is extremely low for April 1st, though. Nearly all snow basins are at or below 80%. Extremely low, persisting in Upper Fraser, East, Quesnel, Chilcotin, Central Coast, Skagit, Vancouver Island, Skeena, Nass, Liard. The only region with near normal is Northwest. Across the province, 28 snow stations listed further are at record low April 1st values. Stations at record lows in many basins, including Nechako, Upper Fraser East, Bridge, Quesnel, North Thompson, South Thompson, Upper Columbia. So those low water levels aren't going to get better. And Nechako being on there. So I've made those videos last week showing, I walked out in the Nechako, and people say, well, there is industry there that uses up the water. Well, there is a dam that controls how much water gets loose. Well, the Nechako is, and I said, so is there not a drought going on? Are you trying to tell me there's no drought? And, the one guy was like, no, I'm not saying that. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I well understand that I fought 6 weeks of fire at Kenny Dam, for the Cutoff Creek fire. Like, I'm quite well aware that the Kenny Dam exists and that it controls water coming and going. I'm also well aware that there's not a lot of water in the system, period, to work with, right? So Kenny Dam is below, last I saw was like something like 24%. It's not got the water to work with that it needs. So it doesn't matter the fact that Kenny Dam exists because they aren't getting the water volume they need to operate either. So last year, the April 1st provincial average was 88% of normal, and we know how the fire season started, right? So once we had that one good hot spell, things didn't take very long to dry out and burn, right? So this is my concern. I've been saying this for a little while, that I'm concerned that we'll have an early start for fire season this year. Whether or not we, that early start translates into acreage burned, equating to last year. I don't feel like we're going to get two years in a row like we just had last year. But none of this looks good. And at some point I'm like, how much am I just hoping, and how much do I have the data? And I for a while it felt like the data was being kind of favorable, but some of this data is concerning, man. It's the lowest since 1970 at least. I mean, we haven't been measuring snowpack that long, but this just give you a point, a bit of an compare this April 1st to March 1st, and we see that Upper Fraser East is a small bump up, but generally everything, Chilcotin, bam, lost all of its snow. South Coast maybe had a little bit of a bump up, but other than that, across the board, everywhere lost their snow in March. And March can be a month where we put on a lot of snow in the snowpack. I mean, if you live at low elevations, you tend to think, well, March, that's when the weather starts getting nice. That's when the tulips start coming up and the cherry trees in Vancouver and this and that. Yeah, but that's not how it goes in the mountains, right? That's not how it goes in the mountains at all. So you're looking at March, April, that's here in Wells. We can put on 1 to 2 meters of snow some winters here in that time. And that did not happen, okay? If you compare to last year, only Sticking and Northwest have a bump up. You compare to April 1st last year to April 1st this year, you look at all these, Chilcotin minus 241. Holy shit. That's wild. After snow in late February, early March, dry conditions developed over the province for the final few weeks of the month. As of April 1st, approximately 90% of stations were reporting well below normal. 40th percentile at all-time low. Growing a proportion of the ASWS stations well below normal. The past 1 to 2 weeks has been influenced by the onset of early season snowmelt, particularly at low to mid elevation locations. So this automated bulletin, I mean, it's all online. www.gov.bc.ca/assets/gov/environment/air-land-. That's a lot of shit. You could also just find it if you go to Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers, our Facebook group. We made sure to post that there. Also, Caribou Regional District's been sharing this. Seasonal weather outlook this is the important thing now. This is what we're going to start talking about. What does this mean in the long run this summer? So the Climate Prediction Center in the U.S. National Weather Service, NOAA, National Oceanographic and Aerospace Agency, maintained an El Nino advisory on March 14th. So we are still in El Nino as of March 14th. This is the warm phase of the El Nino Southern Oscillation, the ENSO, right? So typically El Nino conditions are linked to warmer winters across BC with below normal snowpacks. This is exactly what happened this year. So we had a very typical El Nino this year. Now, CPC forecasts a likely transition to ENSO neutral conditions during April to June. 83% chance. That's a very good chance. It's almost certain chance that the La Nina is fading and the La Nina is coming. So we have a La Nina watch now in effect. Right, so a good chance is the experts are saying, hey, look at this. With increasing odds of La Nina conditions developing June to August, 62% chance and likely continuing to impact BC in the next year. So, the La Nina weathers are relatively cool and wet. This could delay snow melting in the spring, blah, blah, blah. So what we're looking at is the potential where we could have some recovery from all this disaster. And that could mean that we have more days of humid weather, more days of precipitation, high precipitation, thunderstorms, things like that this summer. We could see more temperatures getting pushed down just a little bit by stormy conditions. If that would happen, that would make things, make the weather less on side for fire behavior, right? However, we have these dry conditions now going very deep in the soil in a lot of places, especially in the Peace already. And that's starting to translate in the central Caribou. Places like that, we're starting to see it dry out already, and those drought conditions are starting. So, we have the conditions on the ground where fire can kind of do whatever it wants. And if it gets a little push from the weather, look out. So we could see early fire seasons for sure. We could see Donnie Creek wake back up this spring and just fucking take right off. Absolutely, especially if we start getting some 25 to 35 degree days anytime before this happens. So June, we could get this change. A moderate likelihood, 50-80% chance of above normal temperatures, though. This is what I don't like. This is what Environment Canada is saying. So this concerns me. 50-80% chance of above normal temperatures. Now, this is only, one agency talking off one model, and I've seen other models that suggest other words, but April to June period, the moderate likelihood of 40-90% chance of above normal temperatures over the July to September period as well, right? So 50 to 80 in April to June, 40 to 90 July to September. So Environment Canada is expecting hot weather, and given the global temperature on the whole, reasonable to assume we're going to see some hot weather. So are we going to burn like last year? No, I'm not sure of that yet. You get the point I'm trying to make here. So precipitation forecasts have much lower confidence. Temperature forecasts are a little easier to predict because I got the global temperature, and it's just a matter of where is this heat going to move around to, right? Precipitation can be harder to predict, right? So current projections for April to June suggest 40-50% chance for below normal across Vancouver Island, but above normal for portions of the southern interior. So this is, here's the mixed bag of good and bad news. She's very dry. Could be still warm this year. We could not fully find ourselves in La Nina. Could find ourselves still in warmer weather. Maybe, though, we'll have some above average precipitation in the interior. With increased likelihood of warmer spring on earlier, more accelerated spring melt is the most likely scenario. So seasonal volume forecast. We're talking about river runoff. Basically, we're not looking to have flood and drought outlook. I'm just going to make this short and say current low snowpack is 63%. You're not going to be getting a big spring flood story this year. So, maybe people in Grand Forks and places are happy. But we're not talking about a flood. So that's what the River Forecast Center is saying. So here is our basin snow water index. And you can see Peace is 66%, Liard 55, Stikine 80. The Northwest is the highest, Upper Fraser 70s, just Nechako 62%, so very low there. Chilcotin at 0. Bridge 60. There's a bunch of 60s down there, a bunch of 50s along the coast. Up in the Rockies, some 50 and 60s. Go down south, you're more in the 70s in the Thompson, South Thompson, East Kootenays boundary. So they are in the best position, snowpack-wise, to have a delay for fire season starting, I would say. To have, at least some snow on the ground. And, of course, snow cools things off, too, right? Here's the Snow Basin Water Index. And, again, these are basically just another way of saying what we just looked at, basically, right? And you just look over the years. You see 2018 for Upper Fraser. That was a big year for them in the West. In the East, 2020 was. And you kind of look around and see 2021 in Chaco was a big year. Middle Fraser seems to have had a bunch of pretty big years until now. Wow, way down. Lower Fraser had a bad year in 2019. We started 2019 much the same way, right? We started 2019 going, wow, it's really dry. It was really hot in May. Fire started early, nothing crazy, but, we were on fires in May. I was on a Type 2 crew. One was in, my God, what's the name of that little town by Skeechiston? As you're going west of Kamloops, grass fire, and went for a run and crossed over Highway 1. It was all in the news. People, big deal. It was a really big deal at the time. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. Started off that way, but then we got into January, and man, in Kamloops, it just rained and rained and rained and rained, and we didn't fight much fire that year. So you see the South Thompson, we had these like kind of scary looking numbers in 2019, not quite as bad as now, but there was places where there was reason to feel people thought BC was going to be king of heat in 2019, and Weather Network was saying the king of heat, and everyone was really concerned, and we just didn't get that season, right? But all across the board, different years with the bigger years. 2018 comes up often as a big year. 2020 comes up often as a big year, but in different places, you get slightly different, slightly different readings. 2021 shows up a lot, I should say. So that's great. This just gives you an example. Skagit was very low in 2019. So, there's always variation. Northwest had multiple bad years and has had a bit of a recovery, right? So, and if you do go on here, you can go and look at for yourself all the different kinds of data. So here in Barkerville, 79 cents for snow depth, density at 30%. So, we're not sitting on a big pack of dense snow here. I look out my window, I can tell you that. I can show you that. So these are all here if you want to look at them. This is the graphs of data. We'll not waste a lot of time. We've kind of already given you the gist of what this report has in it. So that should at least help you understand a little better some of the factors we got to look at coming into fire season. So I guess that we'll call this fire forecast number 3, and that's an analysis forecast today, just an analysis. So maybe next week we'll look at the conditions some more. We'll keep visiting this. We'll keep talking about this because I think this is the only channel where you're going to find this kind of information, fire weather forecast and things like that. Not that the BC Wildfire Service doesn't do that kind of stuff, but in terms of just me being an independent guy talking weather, no one else is really giving you fire weather forecasts like I do. So please hit like, share, subscribe, keep coming back to the channel. I would appreciate that very much. We'll see you next time. Bye now.